Welcome to the Performance Enhancing Podcast. It's like steroids for your brain. A podcast for people that want the best info, but just don't have the time. Get your podcast fix with the Cliff Notes versions of your favorite podcasts. No fluff, just the actionable golden nuggets. Having this much knowledge at your fingertips should be downright illegal. So get ready for another dose of Performance Enhancing Podcast with Satori Prime. Here's your host, Ilan Ferdman.
Hello everyone. Welcome to another Performance Enhancing Podcast. Today we're going to do something really special. So what you see in front of you right there, I'm going to pan out here a little bit, and you can see that that's not actually a car. It's just a picture, right? And if you see, I wrote and I scribbled all around it, my prize, right? And I wrote here, this is my game to $100,000 a month. Okay? And then there's a bunch of scribbles here, which don't really mean anything at this point. So, basically, I'm going to share with you that board that you just saw, I created on May 5th of this last year. So we're talking just around 4 months ago. Okay? And I'm going to show you, and I'm going to share with you what's happened in my life and how powerful this power of intention and creation is, okay? So, check this out, okay? Ready? May 5th, right? I put that up. So now here's what I want to show you. For those that don't know, that right there, I don't know if you can see that symbol, that right there is a Cadillac CTS-V station wagon. It's been my dream car for about 2 years. About, like I said, May 5th, I actually had the balls to put this up on my vision board and make it my prize. And now I want to show you this. That, my friends, is a key to a Cadillac. Okay? And now we're going to take a little walk. So excuse the absolute mess. That, by the way, is my office where we're going to record a video as soon as we're done with this. But I just want to show you this real quick. Now granted, it's a different color. But for those of you that can see, that is in fact a Cadillac CTS-V station wagon. My dream car that I've been dreaming about for the last 2 years and put up on my vision board 4 months ago is now sitting in my driveway and is mine. So what I want to do is I'm going to go inside and go back into that fancy studio. Well, it's actually not that fancy, but well-lit studio, let's call it. And I'm going to talk to you about what I've learned and what I've seen over the past few months that's really made a profound shift in our business and my mindset. So everyone say goodbye to what I've now called the Black Raven. Talk to you guys in a bit. All right, so now in my not so fancy, well-lit studio, let's talk about what's happened here. Now, for those that don't know my story, let me kind of backtrack it a little bit so you understand what it took to get here and the process that I went through. And hopefully through that story, you can gain some wisdom about what it truly takes to make such creations a reality, okay? So I'm going to backtrack you now to December of 2011. Now, in June of 2011, Guy and I began Satori Prime. At that time, I was on welfare, okay? I had just closed up shop on a $100 million bank that we were running. Obviously, the economy hurt and all that kind of crap, but I made some horrible mistakes. One of which was staying in that job way too long and pissing through all of my savings, which if I had started this venture with the money that I had saved in the bank account, it probably would have been a very different story. But again, lesson learned, right? So December of 2011, I'm about to go to the Bahamas on a fully paid trip through a company that we were doing some work with. My wife's grandparents are accompanying us to watch our 4-month-old son so we could actually enjoy our trip to the Bahamas. That evening, they show up at our house, we eat dinner. All of a sudden, the doorbell rings very late, something like 9 p.m. Kids asleep, we're all about to go to sleep. Sure enough, I get a court-ordered foreclosure notice while grandparents are standing there watching. Now, no one knows the situation that our family's in at this time, right? Because mostly we just didn't want to worry them and freak them out. But the truth was that we hadn't been paying our mortgage for probably about 2 years because we couldn't afford it. I was on a welfare check making something like $300 a week, or I don't even remember at this point. So they knock. They serve us these papers, and now I have to explain to my wife's grandparents what has been happening all this time. And you can imagine their concern and worry. So that's December 2011. And fast forward to a week ago, so it is now September 24th. So a week ago, September 17th, that caddy shows up on my driveway. Okay? Now I want to backtrack a few months back. I said May 5th I created that vision board and decided to create that picture. Now, at the time, even though Satori Prime was doing pretty well, Guy and my intention has always been to put as much money as possible back into our business. Because our whole mindset is, and maybe this is a lesson for you to take away from, most people have a very short-sighted view of success and what they're looking for. And I just finished, for those of you that were listening to the podcast with Ryan Moran, he uses this great line that he says, the longer your vision of success, the more successful you will be. And it's very, very true. Yesterday on a mastermind, I said the same thing to our students, which was, our goal was never about how much money are we going to pull out of our business. Our goal when we started was how big of an advertising budget could we create to build this business. We were never about, let's pull out $10,000. Our goal was, let's get a $10,000 advertising budget, because we knew with a $10,000 advertising budget, we can turn that into $20,000 or $30,000 in profit, right? So that's always been our focus. It was take literally, the pennies that we needed to feed ourselves and put everything back into the business. And now we're in a position where we spend well over $50,000 a month in Facebook advertising just on our personal stuff, okay? And our goal by the end of this year, so by December of this year, is to get that to $200,000 in ad spend, right? As I'm saying these numbers to you, my brain cannot comprehend. Like, I've had to reprogram my brain to be able to spit out numbers like that at you. Because if you ask me, not even on December of 2011, but if you even asked me a year ago if that was possible, I would have told you absolutely not. We were nowhere near that level. And so to speak those kind of things into existence was unrealistic, was scary, etc., right? Same thing with that caddy. As much as I wanted it, it's been literally my dream car for 2 years. About 2 years ago, I got invited to race when they first come out with the Cadillac CTS V Coupe on a racetrack. I walked out of that car vibrating and just knew that that was going to be my next car. And then about 3 months later, they released the wagon, and knowing that I was a family man at that point, another kid on the way, it was kind of like the perfect, vehicle for me. Now, it's also manual transmission, which is a side note, which is super hard to find. But for those that know about cars, that is a Corvette Z06 engine stuffed into a station wagon with a 6-speed manual gearbox. It pumps out somewhere in the vicinity of that one about 580 horsepower and does 0 to 60 in about 4.1 seconds. So for the boy racer in me, it's the perfect vehicle. And so I honed in, laser focused, like that's all I wanted, right? Now, back in May 5th, when that vision board was originally created, my wife and I had a very serious conversation. Because for the past 3+ years, she's been the one that's been supporting the family. She luckily is an attorney and has a very decent paying job. Doesn't love it so much, but that's regardless, right? She had to suck it up for a little bit. And we had a very, very serious conversation back in the beginning of May, which was if I wasn't able to start pulling out X amount of dollars from the business, which at the time I wasn't, because like I told you, our main focus was keep rolling the money back in, keep rolling the money back in, grow the business. And she basically told me, look, if you don't do this by the end of this month, we don't survive. Okay? Now, that led to another serious conversation with my brother, basically telling him, look, here's where I need to be by the end of this month. And his response, which was a very straightforward thinking response, was, look, at this point, that money in our business is way better than that money in your pocket. To which I told him, it doesn't matter, I can't survive without having pulled that amount of money, right? And he said something very interesting to me. He said, look, we're about to start, these masterminds. We're going to be charging X, Y, and Z. All you need to do is sign up this many people by the end of this month, and that's it. That's where that money will come from. So we actually rationally did the math. That's what I want to kind of impart on you, is that it didn't just manifest itself from thin air, right? Problem was created, okay? We knew where we needed to get to, goal. Now we broke down the pieces individually, because sometimes in your life, you'll look at something and it will just seem like a monumental undertaking, right? This massive, massive mountain. But walking up Mount Everest is a very simple process. It's not easy, but it's very simple. Do you know what you have to do to get up Mount Everest? You have to put one foot in front of the other, then the other, then the other, till you make it to the top. That's pretty simple, right? Now, obviously, I'm very general, simplifying this, but the mechanics of it are simple. So, we had this issue. We knew the amount that we needed to get to, and what we did, instead of arguing or bickering, we literally sat there and rationally thought, okay, here's the amount of money we need. Here's what's coming in. In order to get to X, here are the steps that we need to take. So I had a very clear steps, very clear action steps that I needed to fulfill by the end of the month. So this was May 5th, okay? Now, in order to motivate me and give me that extra, if you achieve this, this is going to be your prize, I stuck that picture, because honestly, everything else in our lives, nice dinners, vacations here and there, but we're not living like kings or anything like that. We just enjoy living, right? But this car, this is the only thing that I've really, really wanted. And I knew what it would mean for me in my life and my business. And I'm not saying a material thing should ever give you that, but for me, that vehicle would encompass the transformation from December 2011, which was probably the lowest moment of my adult life. Getting handed a foreclosure paper in front of your wife and her grandparents, do you know how demoralizing that is? As a man, all you want to do is provide for your family. You're their protector, right? And today, protection actually comes with income. Sad but true. That was the lowest moment of my life. And less than 3 years later, I have my dream car sitting on my driveway. 3 years ago, it took everything from me to have any sort of self-belief that this moment would ever come. Ever. I wasn't pulling in $1 at that moment in time. Not $1. Living on welfare checks. And here we are. So back to May 5th. So we get this system down, right? I know I have to do X, Y, and Z. Well, guess what? In less than 6 days from the time that we set up that game, I had achieved our goals. In less than 6 days, we reached the numbers that we had needed to reach for me to make that a reality. And ever since that month, Satori Prime's business has exponentially grown, almost doubled month over month. Now, I want to point out a few things. One, I believe my wife is an unbelievable manifester, and having her energy imbued into this ongoing project that we had now created because the necessity and urgency was there, I personally believe was a massive, massive shift for me and our business. And what I mean by that is you're in partnerships, whether it's your girlfriend, boyfriend, husband, wife, family, kids, whatever. That is a partnership. Together, you can achieve the unthinkable if you both have the same target. And so Fanny and I had the same target, the same vision. Just like Guy and I in our business, all those years when nothing was working and everyone told us that we're crazy and that we shouldn't be doing this and that it'll never work and all that kind of stuff, we knew where we were going. And that vision, that collective vision, was the reason that I'm standing here before you today. So I want you to take a look at your life. And I want you to figure out, what is it that drives you? Now, I'm not saying a car drove me, right? The car, for me, is a symbol of something. I'm still in shock and in complete, it's surreal to me to open that garage door, walk out, and see that thing sitting on my driveway. Crazy to me. Because it represents the journey that I have been on, and I continue to be on. And it makes me believe and know deep, deep in my heart that anything you want for yourself is possible. Anything. If you're willing to shut this thing up, follow your heart, and do the work. I've worked harder in the past 4 or 5 months than I've ever worked before. And yet it's never felt like work. Being able to contribute to you guys is the gift. That car to me represents that I'm making a global impact in a way that, as much as I wanted to, is hard for me to realize that that dream is becoming a reality. You've heard Guy and I say this hundreds of times. Money is nothing. It's dirty paper with dead presidents, pictures of dead presidents on it. It is literally nothing. What money represents is your impact in the world. The more you're able to give to others, that's how they will repay you. Back in the day, it was a barter system, right? So if you were the medicine man for a community, then they would give you food and shelter and all of these other things. Today, that's how we show our appreciation. We go to sports events, right? We pay money for ticket. To what? To tell this sports team that, hey, I support you. I love you. Thank you for doing what you're doing. You buy books of authors that you love. Why? Because that's the way that you're supporting them. Those people make an impact for you, and that is why you're willing to share your money with them. That car, to me, represents that our mission, which Guy has now upped from 1 million people to 100 million people by 2020, which is fine with me, but that is telling me that we're on the right path, that we're doing the right things. And that gives me so much extra energy and so much extra passion to continue doing what we do. Now, for those of you that have shared and emailed me and written reviews and comments about this particular performance enhancing podcast, I truly am humbled and I thank you. Never in a million years did this 33-year-old schmuck think that people would actually be willing to listen to my perspective of the world. But through being mentored by some of the best people, and I just want to point out a great mentor of mine, Jay Kubisak, who literally got us going on this, he told me that your perspective is what people will want to follow. It didn't even make sense to me at the time. But now I know, and I shared this with him in Miami on a trip, that I know that to be true today. Your perspective is what the world is looking for. It's what the world is waiting for. Now, we're all trying to somehow be something that we're not, or model ourselves after this person, or be that person. But you know what? The only thing the world needs is the best version of you. Not you trying to be me, or you trying to be this or that person. You. It wants you. So whatever you have to shift and get out of your own way to be the best version of you, that is your life's new mission. And I hope that you take that on, because really that is all that you have to be focused on. So I didn't show you all of that to brag or make myself sound amazing. I really hope you didn't hear it that way. That's not the context. The context is that when I first saw The Secret and people were telling me about these vision boards and putting stuff on there, I remember trying and being like, it's okay. But I literally had one of those moments. I don't know if you saw that movie, but John Assaraf talks about putting a picture of a house on a vision board. And then 4 years later, finding that vision board when they moved into their new house, holding it up, and was literally living in that house. Now, as much as I believed him, because I know he wouldn't just make crap like that up, to me it just seemed unrealistic. And I actually know friends that have done the same thing. But I just had that moment. That's what I wanted to share with you. I literally had that moment. From May 5th to September 24th, well, actually September 17th when that car showed up, that became my reality. 4 months of hard, dedicated, specified work to achieve my prize. Now I got to update the board and figure out what's next. But I want you to do the same. I want you, after listening to this podcast, and maybe you have to listen to it again, to just stop for a minute and think about what you want to create. And in order to receive that creation, what are you willing to do for the universe so that the whole world is better for it? What is the thing that you can share with everyone? And it's not that hard to figure out. The things that your friends come to you for, that's most likely what you're gifted at. The thing that people call you for, the thing that people are attracted to you for, that's probably where you want to start digging. And then you want to figure out how you can share that with way more people than you're ever comfortable sharing it with. Knowing that some will think you're a quack, and some think that you're nuts, and some think that you're absolutely dumb. I've experienced it all. But you guys, the ones that respond, the ones that say thank you, the ones that are moved by what we share, that is why I do what I do. And that, I am clear, is the reason that the universe sent me that gift as a sign that I am on the right path. So I hope that this podcast, which is so near and dear to my heart, this is not somebody else's podcast, this is not something I read in the book, this is Ilan's life experience. I hope that this story has given you some sort of inspiration to go out and create magic in your own life. Because that, my friend, is what the world is waiting for. I love you all. Thank you for everything. Thank you for sharing with us. Thank you for being there and listening to us. That's the greatest gift that you could ever give a human being, is your listening. I am humbled by my life. I'm humbled by the fact that I get to have these interactions with you. And I look forward to connecting with more and more of you in the near future. I love you guys, and I'll see you on the next Performance Enhancing Podcast.
Thank you for joining us on this week's Performance Enhancing Podcast. We've taken this pep talk and created a custom action guide so you know exactly what action steps to take now to grow your business. Just head over to satoriprime.com/podcast and download it for free. Also, please leave a comment and rate this podcast on iTunes. It'll help us get the word out. Thanks for listening. Now, go and implement. We'll see you next time.